them viewing you as a hood rich?
Yes.
Are you
I'm actually confused by that term. I've heard it, but I've heard it used a couple of different ways. So, how do you mean it?
Well, I just found it. I found it on the internet. Let's do a little ditty with Majora.
Yes.
MacArthur, but deal with this.
Yes. And you're the expert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't know.
See, because I've heard it. There's like a person who's just like doesn't even live in the hood anymore, but they're like identify from the hood, but they're really rich and they take
they like rope washing?
Rope washing.
So like Jay-Z would be considered hood rich, right? Yeah. Right? This is what I'm already telling you. I'm currently confused. Or I've heard it that you don't need money.
Hold you back. Quite say that about Jay-Z.
Or that you don't need money in the hood, and so you can just be your authenticity. As a person of limited needs is what makes you hood rich. I've heard it used both ways.
Mom.
So is that, which one is it?
The second one.
The second one, okay.
The second one.
We didn't do a survey for that one, but actually, well, you respond on our Instagram. You let us
Yes, please let us know what you think hood rich is and who they are, and if you could point them to us,
yes,
we would love to interview them.
Yes, okay, so we can move on. Are you going to do it for yourself, or are you going to do intergenerational?
She's already invested. This is almost like those dollar brownstones in the Hollands.
Oh yes.
I think this is what happened to the $1 that would have been, but then they took them all. So why don't you?
You have to play by the rules.
You've got to play by the rules. At least this one. But I can tell she's already a very good developer. She's definitely a gentrify. But because she's aggressive. And she's definitely not thinking about the community. She did not give a hootenanny. But that's what the game is called.
Yes.
It is called Move.
Doggy daycare. Well, who else would take care of the dogs? I don't know. But it's important to do it during the day. Someone must walk. I believe so. What is a lululemon?
Well, I go there because I want to get my yoga pants. Would you like me to do my stance right now? My warrior.
My goodness, Quite delightful. You remind me of Melania.
Thank you, Johnny.
Darling.
Where's the paparazzi?
Yes.
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi.
Find my lights.
Yes. Well, what is a year? Year. Yes. Yes. Oh, more, sorry. Oh, she's definitely one of us. Yes, she is. Blank. Blank. Okay. So,
Yes.
yes, welcome
Hi.
to Black Issues Issues. Gentrify your own.
And what do you think of that term? Because we've heard that gentrification means dog walking.
Oh,
So are you proposing massive dog walking happening in the Bronx?
that's right.
Is that what this is?
Dogs are already being walked in the Bronx, so that's not exactly what we're talking about.
They walk
With their people. Yeah, that's what happens. But gentrify your own hood. I think people were really inspired when word got out, like into the larger world, what Nipsey Hussle was doing out in his hometown, and when Jay-Z did that really beautiful eulogy. I think people were like, wait, you could do that? But of course it was controversial because gentrification is something that when people think about it, it's this thing that happens to folks. But one thing I think we've
Two votes, what do you mean?
that it comes in from the outside, and there's this
Outside what?
outside of communities that are low status, and those low status communities are the places where there's environmental issues, where there's poverty, higher rates of people involved in the justice system, higher rates of people with poor health outcomes and poor education, and so they're lower status. Inequality is assumed in those communities, and often assumed by the people that are in them as well as those who are outside of them.
So you're saying that they assume, the people there assume they themselves are of a lower quality?
Well, I think that there's been a great job done by the social justice and the nonprofit industrial complex, where there's almost this assumption that poverty is a cultural attribute. Yeah, that poverty is somehow assumed in low status communities. That, and the job of those in government or the nonprofit sector is to really kind of make life easier for people that are poor, because there's no opportunity for them to move up.
Well, when we were thinking about this show tonight, Gibson and I, ReBlacka, I passed over good times for the Jeffersons. And it was keeping your head above water, making a way when you can, temporary layoffs, good times,
Yeah.
easy credit reports, good times. Sing it on now, yes? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, I think because when you think about our communities in Black, this is Black Issues, right?
It is.
All right, so let's just talk about the
And
Black
solutions, and solutions to it.
Yes, exactly. And Black solutions.
Yes,
Yes, you preach it. So just think about it. One of the, before segregation, and believe me, after segregation, we had integration, so to speak, right? We entered into it, but prior to that, people. It's not that Black folks weren't doctors or lawyers, or they definitely were, but we all lived together prior to legalized integration.
What did you call that?
We all lived together.
Yeah, we had kind of had to, because people had to be segregated. People were segregated.
What was the legalized integration? What was that? What do you mean?
Well, the policies that came out after the civil rights movement.
What policies?
Housing policies and civil rights legislation, all of that stuff made it so that folks who were living in Black communities, regardless of who they were, whether it was the doctors or lawyers or janitors or whatever, they had to live together because there was segregation, right? And one of the unintended consequences of that was that once housing legislation, when civil rights legislation came out, that people allegedly could move out. And that did happen, because there were folks that were up higher, like the Jeffersons, right? Like the Jeffersons.
Because they moved on up.
Exactly.
They did move on out.
They did.
And up.
And why?
Unlike good times, yes.
But because they had good times.
They did. They were keeping
why
their
they
heads
had
above
good
water.
times.
They did.
Apparently they had good times.
And they had washing machines down in the basement.
Down in the basement. Yes. Not in their own flat, but down in the basement.
Yes, they had to.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
elevator.
So,
Yes.
if you think about it, so our communities have always produced talented people, really just all sorts, right? But after one of the unintended consequences of integration is the folks that were considered, like, whether they were, a higher level in terms of education or their occupation, they felt that they could move out because that is part of the American dream. You should be able to live wherever you like, right?
The American dream. Yes, darling. The American dream. I mean, we all know what that is, correct? This American dream. Hold on. Where's your binoculars, darling? What is the American dream?
Fallacy.
What is it?
Fallacy.
Say that.
A fallacy.
Fallacy.
Debbie Downer.
Well, this is not true.
I might not have
Brooklyn is in the house.
but it's like,
She's very proud of this too. I noticed that. She is
but
very.
it has the thing that people want. And so we were like, what, Point Blank, you want to create the kind of experience that reminds people in our community that they don't have to move out of their neighborhood to live in a better one. That is it.
Right.
And economically, we get treated like crap because we are super poor. I mean, and there's also this understanding, I think, in the nonprofit industrial complex, certainly, the folks within government and philanthropy really do think that they sort of equate the idea of neighborhood preservation with like poverty being literally a cultural attribute. It's like, it's just destined to stay that way. And I'm like, no, there have been policies and all sorts of things that made it that. But I do think that there's this sort of understanding within folks that sort of make sure that there's poverty level economic maintenance, that, we're not thinking about wealth creation.
Economic maintenance.
Yes.
What is that? It sounds like a zoo almost.
Well,
Where you have to have the maintenance of the animals.
Yes.
Something to this sort. Is it something like that?
well, it's just an understanding that if you concentrate poverty is concentrated. And it stays that way. It stays at that level.
So why are they so upset?
Why? I think because they
don't have blueberries. Or you don't have blueberries.
Are they poor?
I don't think they have really understand historically.
Did you not
what
hire
it's
them?
been.
Did they apply to work in the done?
Maybe they do want a job. Maybe that's what it is.
They just don't know how to ask for it.
Maybe that's it. Or maybe they truly believe what's been told to our communities, that there's only one way to be in our community.
Black.
That, and I believe that is the absolute truth.
I heard that. You said it's a what? It's a
It's a
black.
black. But to them, I am inauthentic because I talk about money.
Yes, he's a bluencer.
Yeah, he's a blue influencer.
Yes, he
And
is.
He's a bluefluencer.
Yeah, we love you. We love you.
We see you.
Decorum as a political activity, and then you also as a political activity, and then the brothers, brothers just have to be powerful, and you upset, and he's thinking he's stepping like everybody's scared. Backtracking your mind against the situation. No, but see, that's what somebody else